The Yankees have been the talk of the week. Everybody knew winter meetings was going to come and it was going to go. A lot of writers believed by the end of the winter meetings, we were going to know where Aaron Judge was going to go. There were rumors that he was thinking about going home to play in front of his family. He has missed his family. He's been in New York for the last 9 years. He is from the West Coast. He's from the Bay Area. He just got married last year. Probably wants a family soon. The Yankees, going into the offseason, we heard Randy Levine, we've heard Brian Cashman, and Hal Steinbrenner say that nobody is going to outbid us for our player. The only way we're going to lose our player is if he decides he doesn't want to be here. And boy, Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman, and Mr. Levine were all right. They didn't get outbid. They matched everything that the Giants were offering him. 9 years, $360 million. It was an identical contract. And Aaron Judge had a choice. Where does he want to play? Does he want to play in New York as a career Yankee? Or does he want to go to a team that he knows nothing about? And that could be on the bottom of the National League with all the talent that there are in the National League East and the National League West. Aaron Judge was the number one priority this offseason for the Yankees. If they lost him, you have to worry about where they're going to find that other player. Are they going to wait until the year after? Are they going to have a chance to get Soto? Do they have a chance to get Ohtani? If they do, what do they have to trade for Ohtani? The Yankees right now want to build around youth. The Volpes and the Perezas and the Cabreras and the Dominguez. They have talent in their farm system that they could build around. We didn't know the farm system was going to bring a talent like Aaron Judge. A brutally strong guy, 6'8", 280 pounds. Could squat almost 600 pounds. And bench 350. The problem with Aaron Judge is his size. He is in the prime of his career. He needs to stay healthy. The Yankees need to find a way to keep this guy healthy for the next 4 years. Because a 9-year deal, you're only probably going to get 4 to 5 good years out of it. With a guy with that size, that athletic ability, a 5'2" player, how is his athletic ability going to stay there? Ask Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter wasn't the same player when he hit 35. Now, Aaron Judge is different. He hasn't played as long as Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter came into the league when he was 19 years old. Aaron Judge didn't come to the majors until he was like 25. Is Aaron Judge going to get the captaincy? Probably is. This story was growing legs because people were saying in his camp that he was unsure, but he was sure it was between two teams. It was between the Yankees and the Giants. But I now believe that he had no thought in his mind that he was going to San Francisco if the Yankees could match what San Francisco was offering him by the years. He had no reason to leave the Yankees. The Yankees are his team. He grew up with the Yankees. A lot of these players love him. And you've seen what Anthony Rizzo said about Aaron Judge's contract. He says there's not many people that bet on themselves. Aaron bet on himself and almost won a triple crown this year. If there's anybody that deserves it, it's him. Now, Anthony Rizzo and him grew very close. So is Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo Stanton has become his best friend. Now, they have to find a way to win a championship, but I don't know if Aaron Judge is the guy. So far, the last 2 years, he hasn't been. You can't tell me that you're hitting 211 for the full playoffs and tell me that you're going to be the major piece that's going to help us bring a championship home. I am not going to complain about it. He is a Yankee. He wants to be with the Yankees. He just wanted to get his money and get his years. Jacob deGrom didn't want to be a Met. And the Mets didn't want to match anything that was offered by the Texas Rangers. I've heard from Met fans, a.k.a. Josh Silverberg, he never wanted to be here. Jacob deGrom never hung out in the dugout with anybody. He didn't really speak to a lot of people. He really didn't have a close relationship with Max Scherzer or anybody on that pitching staff. It hasn't been the same since the Dark Knight left and Max, Noah Syndergaard, which was his best friend. You look at the Yankees are in a good position now. If they can get Rodon and maybe another relief pitcher, Brian Cashman finds a hidden gem in free agency and brings him in for a year, and he turns out to be a good player. I don't think they're bringing back Andrew Benintendi if they get Rodon. Benintendi's going to be asking for at least $100 million. And if they're giving Rodon 30 for 6, that's 180. There's no way they're going to have the money. Yankees have a farm system. They have Dominguez, who could be up by the end of this year and playing center field, switch hitting center fielder with a lot of power. Aaron will play right field for the rest of his career before they move him to DH, and Giancarlo will be over there and left until he retires. Maybe they move Cabrera over there. Could play multiple positions, and the Yankees have a decent farm system where they can go into their farm system and find players.
Yeah, he played 4 of them last year. Both corner outfield spots, second and short. So he's definitely capable of it. As far as the relief pitchers, I don't think Brian Cashman wants to go down that road again. They already had too many of the bad contracts before. So I think they just want to do it in-house. They want to do it with their young pitchers. They evolved Clark Schmidt into a reliever nicely. Albert Abreu, before he got hurt, was pitching well out of the bullpen. Michael King was fantastic before he got hurt. Former starter in that system. As far as Judge, a lot of years. It's definitely a lot of risks. So the Yankees are going to have to manage that, whether it means not playing him in center field as much. Maybe Dominguez, once he comes up, takes over that job full time if he can hit at the major league level right away, which would be a great thing. So Judge can stay in right and can DH. Because Stanton's going to DH as long as he's there. $40 million a year surpasses Mike Trout for the highest average annual value for a hitter. I'm surprised the Yankees, for that many years and that average annual value, was able to do it, because Brian Cash has been reluctant to give those longer deals besides Garrett Cole recently. The Stanton deal was inherited from the Marlins. I thought he was going to go to the Giants too, but the Yankees are going to have to make it work. I think
Brian Cashman was trying to save his job, and that was the way he saved his job for the fans.
Yeah.
He wants the fans to leave him alone. He just got an extension to 2026. I love it. Brian Cashman is the best GM in baseball. And for any Yankee fan to sit here and complain about that just shows you how stupid you really are. You have the best GM in baseball, and maybe he's been dry when it comes to winning championships since 2009. It's not easy to win World Series. Look, Philadelphia went to a World Series this year for the first time
since 2009.
Brian Cashman is a good GM. He knows what he's doing. He's going to rebuild this team. They believe in Brian Cashman. If they land Rodon, they already have the best pitching staff in baseball. You add Rodon, a power lefty the Yankees have been craving. You have Frankie Montez coming back. And I do not believe he was 100% healthy when he came to the Yankees, especially with his family member dying. His head wasn't in it. He is going to be a different pitcher. Could you imagine that pitching staff? Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, you have Frankie Montez, Luis Severino, Herman, and Cortez. Cortez was the Yankees' best pitcher last year, I believe, in the regular season. Who's going to beat the Yankees? Even Houston is going to have problems against the Yankees. Now, the Yankees have to figure out how to hit in the playoffs. That's been the problem for the Yankees, even with the dominant pitchers. And the Yankees have been pretty good pitching teams in the playoffs the last couple of years. It's really their lineup that hasn't been hitting. So they have to find a guy that can hit for average, and he's not going to be too expensive. But then there's the Mets, who decided to part ways with Jacob deGrom. Maybe Jacob didn't want to have a counter offer by the Mets. Maybe he didn't want to be a Met. Why didn't he want to be a Met? Why would Jacob deGrom, who's one of the most quietest guys, doesn't really say anything, he just goes on the field and does what he does? Why is he the one that doesn't want to go into the clubhouse? He doesn't want to hang out with anybody. He doesn't want to befriend anybody. Maybe because the Mets slapped Jacob deGrom in the face when they gave Max Scherzer last year the contract that he got, when he's a better pitcher than Max Scherzer and younger. And then hearing stories that they were interested in Rodon, they were interested in Verlander. Instead of trying to seal the deal before the season ended with their pitcher, Jacob deGrom, they decided to say, we'll wait until free agency, and then we'll try to negotiate a deal. And what happens? They lose him. He goes to Texas. And who knows what he's going to do in Texas? He might suck. I don't think he's going to suck, but that team's going to suck. But at least they'll give him runs, and maybe he wins a Cy Young or two.
Congratulations. You'll get 2 runs of support per game in comparison to the Mets
but
giving you 1.
That doesn't help the Mets, because they bring in Justin Verlander. Yes, he won a Cy Young last year. He's won a couple of Cy Youngs. Good for him. It was the American League in a very poor division. Texas stinks. The Angels stink. Seattle's getting better, a team to be reckoned with this year. But watch, they're going to collapse this year. Who do they have to beat? Oakland? Oakland hasn't been a good playoff team forever. They make the playoffs almost every single year except last year. And now they traded everything again, so they have to start over once again. Moneyball mania, baby.
And the Mets could have had Carlos Rodon. The projected offer from the Yankees is 6 years, $30 million. The Mets could have had him for that. A young, more controllable pitcher that'll give you longevity. He had some injury issues earlier in his career, but he's been healthy the last 3 years. The Mets could have had that at $30 million and still gotten more depth, which they lack. Mets lost 7 pitchers in the offseason, but no, they went for the flashy move in Justin Verlander.
That's 2 years of Justin Verlander and 2 more years for Max Scherzer. 2 guys that played in Detroit together, and they were dominant, but they were in the primes of their careers. Now they're at the tail end of their careers. They are injury prone. The Mets have no depth in that rotation. They've always had depth over the years. That was their strength. They have lost a tremendous amount of pieces, and Jacob deGrom was really the final straw that helped that team go to the World Series in 2015. And now all of a sudden, they have to start over. There is nobody there besides Pete Alonso that is homegrown, and Nimmo.
If they got Rodon instead of Verlander, that's $13 million more on average annual value per year. You could have probably brought in one more starter and a couple more relievers. Yeah, I know they traded for one. I like the trade they made with Tampa for Brooks Raley. Meanwhile, now you're at Justin Verlander, $43 million a year. You're already close to the luxury tax as it is. You're going to really have to go dart throwing with the rest of these relievers and starting depth. They're going to have to trust McGill and Peterson to be full-time starters. McGill pitched well before he got hurt last year, fine. I like Peterson, but still, they're better as versatile guys. You don't want to have to really just make it stuck on that, and that's a big problem Mets are going to have. Their hitting, I think, is pretty good. They need pitching depth, and I hope they can get it somewhere else because Verlander's getting a lot of money.
Kate Upton, Justin Verlander's wife, supermodel, Sports Illustrated supermodel, loves the fact that the Mets overpaid Justin Verlander for 2 years, because now they set themselves up even better as he retires and moves on with his career. 2 years, $86.6 million is ridiculous. To a 40-year-old guy, doesn't make any sense if you're a Met fan. And again, the Yankees are the favorites to land Carlos Rodon. I think it's a great move by the Yankees. It could put the Yankees right where they want to be. The team to beat again this year, especially in the American League East, which is the hardest division in baseball. And if they add Carlos Rodon and didn't lose Aaron Judge, they're in position to be a dominant force in the American League. Let's get into some Islander conversation. In the last couple of weeks, the Islanders have been up, and then all of a sudden in the last week, fallen down. And it's not because of goaltending. They lost Pelech to a concussion. But what this team is a team that has a lack of offense. The Islanders right now have 92 goals. They have had problems scoring goals in the big games against the better teams. Matthew Barzal is an assist machine. He's one of the best passers in the league. But that's not why the Islanders in the offseason paid him $9 million a year. They paid him because he's an elite player in this league. But he can't become an elite player in this league because they don't have anybody that can play with him that can give him the ability to put the puck in the net. Could be the facilitator while he is the closer. The other player becomes the closer and he becomes the facilitator. Anders Lee and Josh Bailey doesn't cut it. Oliver Wahlstrom don't cut it. Look how many players have played on that first line. They had Zach Parise on that line. You can't win without an elite line. They don't have an elite line. Anders Lee is a good player. He's not elite. You bring in a guy like Patrick Kane to play with Matthew Barzal, forget it. You got a speed guy that could pass, he could shoot, he can close. Something that the Islanders haven't had in a very long time. And I remember Garth Snow when he signed Andrew Ladd, and they thought he was going to be that player. They signed him 7 years, and it screwed everything up when Lou Lamoriello came in. You want Patrick Kane. He has 4 good years left. He could still skate amongst the league's best. He could puck handle. He could shoot. If you put him on a good team, he'll be even better. But is Patrick Kane enough to get them over the hump this year if they make the playoffs? And the answer is no. They need another offensive-minded player to play on another one of those lines. You need to have an elite line when you get into the playoffs. You need a line. If you put them on the ice and you say, I need a goal, they could go out there and find one. They don't have that line. They're pretty good on every one of their lines. And Matthew Barzal is their most talented player. I think Sorokin is their best. And then there's the Rangers. The Rangers have not played well this year, but are starting to play a little bit better. And they're only a point behind Carolina, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders at 34. And I believe that this division is going to be so close all the way to the end. Devils that have 43, which I think eventually will come down to life. Yeah. But the Rangers need to find offense as well. They're not scoring a lot of goals. Out of all these teams that are fighting for a playoff spot, they have the second least amount of goals. Carolina has 77, but they're one of the best defensive teams in the league and have great goaltending. The Rangers have 89 goals and 82 goals against. And that's a number that's really, really high. 82 goals when you have Shesterkin.
It's only started to improve recently. Really bad for a while, especially that West Coast trip.
It was horrible. The Rangers need to find offense. So maybe Patrick Kane would fit the Rangers culture. I don't know what the Rangers are willing to give up. Bringing Patrick Kane in, I understand him and Panarin are very close. They're very good friends. They play together on a line. And that was a dominant line, by the way, in Chicago. And they won a Stanley Cup on that line. But is this Ranger team that Chicago Blackhawks team? When they had all that young talent, they were stacked, including their goaltender in Crawford.
Their defense, too. The Rangers have a good defense, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere close to that Blackhawks defense. Now, with their lack of center depth, does Patrick Kane make a lot of sense because he's not a center? Yes, he's a great passing winger. He has 50-plus assists each of the last 4 years, but the Rangers need so much center depth. That's why I think it makes a lot more sense for the Islanders, because the Islanders at least have center depth. Brock Nelson's a good center. Pajot's a good face-off guy.
They're going to have to give one of them up.
They need that speedy winger. Not that anyone can skate to the level of Barzal, but at least to keep up with him at some point. Why is Zach Parise on the first line, close to 40 years old? The Rangers, I don't think are in position to do that kind of thing because they have a lot of wingers. Yes, they have inconsistent youngsters. Let them actually develop. The Islanders have a lot of veteran guys. Yes, they have some good young guys too, but most of those guys are on defense. Wallstrom's really the primary offensive guy. So
I just worry that the Islanders bring Patrick Kane in, and he's not the same player. He's having a bad season right now. I know it's on a bad Chicago Blackhawks team, and they're putting him on a crappy line. You've played 26 games, and you only have 4 goals and 16 assists. Negative 15, that scares me.
You don't think the lack of goals would drive down his price a little bit?
Yes, I think they'll get him less. They don't have to give up as much, but is he worth making that trade for? If he does go to the Island, is he going to go on that first line, and he's going to do the things that they believe he's going to do?
I think they would need 2 players either way. Impact offensive players. They're going to have to get a second one that's probably an expiring contract. Tarasenko's pricey too. Are they going to be able to do both them and Kane?
Well, they have control of him for next year. Tarasenko has 1 year left.